Have you ever heard of Amit Agarwal? Who? Amit Agarwal. Who? Well, his site makes $20 million a year. What? Yup. How? This is Amit Agarwal's website. There's no flashy animations, no infinite scroll, no parallax, no overwhelming colors, and yet it's pulling in millions annually. Why? Because it works. It's not designed to impress, it's designed to solve problems. Now, here's the secret. Good design isn't about how something looks, it's about how it works. Amit's website focuses on two main things: simplicity and functionality. Okay, let me guess what your website looks like. It probably opens with a full screen animation of a bouncing logo, right? Maybe a parallax scrolling effect here, a slow loading video background there, and that's because most websites do this. And guess what? All that flash isn't necessarily making you rich. You're spending hours agonizing over font pairings and micro animations, but your visitors, they just want to click a button to get what they need. Take a look at Amit's site. No crazy gradients, no scroll to reveal effects, it's just straight to the point, and even though it's boring, that's why his site works in this case. You see, that's my little secret of web design. Fancy doesn't always mean better. People think a website has to look like a tech company exploded onto the screen, but Amit's site proves one thing: simplicity is sometimes king. Now, I'm not saying that you should just ditch everything, no fonts, no colors, just Comic Sans on a white background. No. There's a difference between simplicity and neglect. Simplicity is about removing distractions, focusing on what matters most. Like this? Useless. Your visitor's brain is screaming, "What do I click?" Simplicity is thoughtful. Amit's website is simple, but not lazy. It's designed to work for the user, not impress other designers. By the way, make sure to stick around because we'll be redesigning a website that you don't want to miss towards the end of this video. Alright, so I was able to, all by myself, condense this idea into three main points. 1. Your website should solve a problem. 2. It should be simple enough to navigate. There's no guessing where to click. You go to a site, you know exactly what to do. 3. It should speak to the user. You know what type of users are using your site and how they interact with it. So how can you apply this to your website? Well, first you need to ask yourself a big question. What's the purpose of my site? Is it to sell something, to share content, to build a community? Every website is different, and what works for one might not work for another. The key is figuring out your site's personality.
The key is to be honest with yourself. We have to be honest with ourselves before we do anything.
Let me explain. Websites are like people. They need a personality. A site selling high-end watches is going to have a totally different vibe than one sharing cat memes. Here are 3 steps to figure it out. 1. You should know your audience. Who are you building the site for? If your audience is business professionals, your design needs to feel clean and trustworthy. If it's for casual shoppers, you can afford to be a bit playful. 2. Pick a vibe and stick with it. Your site can't be everything to everyone. If you're bold, be bold everywhere. Colors, fonts, even the tone of your copy. If you're professional, keep it consistent. This is what makes your site feel cohesive. And 3, lead with purpose. If your site is busy, that's not always bad if it's on purpose. A news site like CNN is supposed to have lots of headlines because the goal is to inform. A portfolio site, the goal is to highlight your work, so anything that expresses your style will make sense. So here's what you gotta remember. There is no one-size-fits-all design. Some sites are minimal, some sites are bold and busy. The key is knowing what your site is trying to do and designing it with purpose. Start with a clear personality, focus on what matters, and cut out the fluff. That's how you make your site not just look good, but actually work. Alrighty, let's get practical. We've talked about simplicity, clarity, and visual hierarchy. Now it's time to actually use those principles and fix something. Today's victim? Feastables.com. Let's take a look at their hero section first. So here's what we're working with. Don't get me wrong, it's fun, it's bright, it's got energy, but it's also a lot. The actual chocolate image is cool, but it's competing with everything else. When it comes to the text, it feels like there's too much, and the fonts are a bit too intense. And the call to action button is there, but I always find its text to be a bit confusing, so I always like to stick to the classics like buy now. So what's the point of this hero section, you ask? Well, we'll make it our goal to drive more sales and give a good first impression to the user. It's the first time the users will see your site, and it should be one thing: guide them to the next step, which is to buy a chocolate bar. Let's start redesigning this section with a new background. Feastables has this bright blue going on. It's fun, I like it, so we'll keep the blue and give it an Oreo pattern all across. To that, we'll add a nice shape, which we're taking from our Lunchly redesign video, which you can check out by clicking up here. Next up, let's add the cookies and cream title and replace the description with a shorter one above the title to change it up and keep the emphasis on what's below. Instead of want some on the old sites button, we're gonna add 2 clear call to action buttons to drive those sales home. The product is the whole point of the hero section. If I'm here to buy chocolate, I shouldn't have to dig through the visual noise to find it. We'll throw in a photo of Mr. Beast to get that borrowed credibility and some Oreo snacks, cause why not? So here's the new design, and we can play around with it to make it work with different mockups of the chocolate if we wanted to, just like this one. Notice how much clearer it looks? The product is the focus, the headline grabs your attention, and the buttons, you can't miss them. That's the power of simple, clean, targeted design. The lesson here, your hero section doesn't need to be flashy just to convert, it just needs to be clear, focused, and user-friendly. Does this mean you should probably delete that spinning logo animation on your site? Nah, keep the personality. You know what, the web would be a pretty boring place if every website looked like Amit's. So I vote you keep that spinning logo. But as for me, I'm definitely deleting it from mine. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe, and hey, let me know in the comments what's the most over-designed website you've ever seen. I'm gonna be checking out the comments to see what you guys drop down there. Bye!